Hi, thanks for reaching out. I had to take a little while to think about this question. I'm like, oh yeah, that really is good because the party at the time was deceiving the public and they were, keeping it secret. And you wouldn't want it to be out in the open, would you? You might not get voted for even if it was somebody who was um, uh, kind of strongly governed like that. Be that as it may, how do you find something? First thing is I just typed in Holocaust primary sources out on the open web. What you can think about is that during the pandemic, but a lot like the 10, 15 years before the pandemic, primary sources like diaries, oral histories, interviews, maybe, um, probably not a lot of films, probably a lot of photographs. Those were all kept in archives for decades and decades, and they started to be digitized and put together. And the first one right here, I'm not quite sure what this website is, but the second one, or somewhere down the road, is the Holocaust Museum. They took a lot of primary sources and they put together an exhibit, and it's really wonderful. If you get a chance to see it, it's such a busy place that you need to order tickets for it beforehand. But they're going to have a lot of stuff online. So I'll show you the method to my madness in how I searched. Go through this and see if they talk about what you were interested in. And you can find different strings of thought, maybe like how the war started, maybe how minoritized groups were treated, or how the evolution of how they were talked about. That's like rhetorical analysis, all sorts of different things. My son's in the background having a bag of something while watching the internet. So, how do we find those primary sources? I want to show you something that I show in my classes. Is so we know what primary sources are. It might be interviews, it might be oral histories, it might be all those different things. In what I call a contextual search on Google, you can put in that as a context. So if this rides high in the metadata or in the title or in the first part of the page, those oral histories will show up to the top, and then you can put whatever keywords you want after this. So maybe instead of concentration camp, it might be Holocaust, secrecy. But what you'll get is different pages. Here's that museum again. Here's an oral history and the war. Everyone will have collected different ideas, and so there'll be a lot of different things for you to go through and find the people who experienced this, the original voices, those primary sources. So, oral history, that worked really well. Policy, all of a sudden we're talking about the people who what do I call it? Implemented policy. So not the policy makers, but the people who enforced and implemented it, the Gestapo. So you can learn keywords as you go. So maybe we would do Gestapo secrecy, Holocaust secrecy. Um, Policy might be like the policy itself, but hopefully it's people talking about it too. Diary or diaries. Here's a prisoner in the concentration camp in Dachau. You could put in specific names of camps as well. And again, that museum, it shows up a lot. So I think that might be a great place to go. Anne Frank famously. And lastly, photographs. Excuse me. Photographs tell a lot of stories, but it's hard to get the voice of the original photographer, the original witness, because there's so much going on that we might miss. This might complement an oral history or an interview, but it might not be the right thing. And again, that museum shows up right there. So the museum might be a great place to go, but these are the angles and the directions that I use to find it. So let's try. Let's try Dachau secrecy. Yeah. So, but what if we change it to Gestapo? I'll just say camp. So some of you'll start to see things starting to show up again and again. That's good. That's validation of what you've looked for. Keep notes as you go and write down URLs, and as you capture images or things like that, save them in a program like Google Docs or OneNote. I think Evernote was one that existed before. You can even save them in a PowerPoint, but just make sure and save the citation of where you got it from. So after you do a bunch of gathering of these primary sources, you can organize them after the fact. OneNote's really great. If you've never used it before, it's Microsoft and it works very similarly to PowerPoint, and it's easy to keep stuff together. As you go throughout these things, if you find something that you really would like but you can't find, let me know, and we can do some deeper searching. But this is how I would start. And thanks for reaching out. I hope you have a good one, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks.